Hello here, Mike here, and Joe also.
Good afternoon.
Who you'll see in a moment.
It's 3 o'clock on the button. We just get the bells of St Giles. It's the 15th of November. We're live here in the Royal Mile again. So we're going to continue from where we were from last week. So Felcha, hello, welcome.
Thanks for joining, and once again our YouTube channel is building up. We're heading for that 1,000, and we have also got an Instagram account now as well called Joe and Mike's Tours, and we're posting quite a lot of stuff on there as well, so that would be great if you want to join us on that too. So I'm glad to see Joe is fit and up and about again. A bit more anyway.
I'm getting up and about, so it's not too bad. I'm making more progress going up and down the stairs, Mike, because I'm drinking a lot of tea at the moment, and my bathroom's upstairs. I'm always up and down the stairs every 5 or 6 minutes. My favourite at the moment is Russian caravan tea. I'm absolutely addicted to Russian caravan tea. But welcome back to the heart of the Royal Mile here in Edinburgh. And we're going to continue our little tour around this historic centre area. The first thing we're going to talk about is just this events that took place in this little area. One of the main events was the Great Fire of Edinburgh, which Mike is going to talk a wee bit more about. But it actually started in Old Assembly Close. Now, if you're not familiar with the Royal Mile, it actually connects the castle at the top to the palace at the bottom. So with my tours, I normally start at the top and we roll down, right down to the bottom. So you get royal apartments at both ends of the Royal Mile itself.
Okay, so we'll just move over a little bit, and I'll say a wee word or two about Old Assembly Close. Hopefully you can see me a little bit as I do that at the same time. And this gap here, and the Royal Mile, if you've been in Edinburgh, you'll be very familiar with the fact that we have lots of little accesses leading off the main street, and if you look down from above, it's a bit like a fishbone, with the skeleton of the fishbone being the main spine, the Royal Mile, and the little bits that come off it would be that skeleton. So we've got many of these. And here is Old Assembly Close, and this was where, this is the anniversary, in fact, of this terrible event that happened in 1824 on the 15th
of November, yeah.
of November 1824. At 10 o'clock at night, there was a room with books in it above the access here, and it was owned by an engraver, and we do not know what happened, but there would be a lot of paper and a lot of parchment, and something suddenly caught fire, and it set the whole of this area of the Royal Mile on fire all the way up here. And there was many older accommodations here that would have dated back to about 17th century and earlier, and a lot of them would have been wooden with clay infill, and all around and up until St Giles, and it just absolutely ravaged the whole thing. And where the Parliament is, rather the old Parliament, and where the law courts are today, that was all affected by this fire. And some people said that the builders who had interest in building new accommodations for the courts of session and stuff like that were quite happy that happened. So, well,
a lot of the areas here would have been slum as well, because a lot of the buildings were legacy buildings, and they would have gone up like tinder boxes. The whole city would have been a tinder box. I remember we were looking here, if Mike can scan around, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors here. But if you go behind these buildings, they drop another 5 floors. So these buildings are actually up to between 5 and 12 stories tall. And so you only really see scratching the surface. It's kind of like the iceberg. When you're looking at it here, you're only really scraping it. It's when you go behind or you go down these little closes, you get a good idea as to how tall these buildings are from the other side, because Edinburgh naturally is built into its hills. And so the architects were quite creative. It was a walled city, and you couldn't really build outside the city walls, so the buildings had to get higher and higher and higher. And of course,
you scan just of the entry here of the ghost sign. Okay.
Yeah, I love these signs, the old signs here. Yeah. And just have a look down into the close itself, and you can get a good view. I always recommend people, when they come to Edinburgh, is take the opportunity and go into these little alleyways, because you don't know what's behind it. And the city will unveil itself and get little secrets here for you.
Yeah, I can see there the sign is all to do with a meeting place, a building where people would come to meet and socialise. And with the development of the new town, they built an assembly room there, which with the movement of people from the old town to the new town, they went to a new assembly rooms, but these ones still existed until the Great Fire. Yeah.
And the assembly rooms were important, especially in the period in the 1700s, because this is where all the great and the good would meet. And we talk a lot about the Scottish Enlightenment, and this was the meeting places. Apart from all the bars and the pubs and the coffee houses and tea houses, there were also these official assembly rooms. Not only were they just meeting places for the arranged marriages of the upper classes, but they were also meeting places for political discourse and open to the public. And we're going to talk a bit more about some of the greats of the Enlightenment as we start working up.
And there's a story, Joe, have you heard this, that women were not allowed to drink coffee or discouraged from drinking coffee?
I never heard that.
Apparently so. I must research that for the next tour we do. I will promise the audience that we'll get to that, why that was the case.
Oh my God. What were women allowed to do? They weren't allowed to do very much, were they? Yeah.
But here's one of these,
the wellheads here.
Wellheads.
We've talked about them before.
Yeah. But you've got this one, haven't you? You've got the one with the face, because is this a connection with Edinburgh Festival?
Well, indeed, because we're right next to the Fringe office here. If we walk up here, walk a wee bit higher up here, I just want to point out, when people are looking for authentic stuff to buy when they're here in Edinburgh, I'm always very, very careful as to where my clients go shopping, because I have to say, Mike, you might agree with this, but feel free to disagree, there's a lot of tat.
Yes.
On the Royal Mile. It can be tat-tastic or tatarama. There's a lot of stuff in here. And we're into sustainable tourism, and we would like to see people buy products that are created in Scotland. So you go into a lot of the shops and you find that stuff is made in Taiwan or made in China. I would like to point out some of the authentic shops. And one of the authentic ones here is Johnson's of Elgin. And they've got really good tweed stuff here. Johnson's of Elgin, the Johnson's mill is up in Elgin, up in the north. Mike and I, during our training, we actually visited Johnson's of Elgin. We went into the mill itself, and they actually do the Burberry tartan. They've got the license for the Burberry tartan. But this is one of the stores that I would recommend. I always make sure with my clients that they go into authentic stores. Now, we did a really, really good feature on a great store in St Mary's Street where a lot of the creators, if you haven't seen that one, go back and have a watch. If you're looking to buy authentic Scottish products, have a look at the previous...
That's the Textile Showcase, Joe.
Textile Showcase.
Funny enough, on Saturday I'm going to be doing a physical tour, and part of it I'm hoping to take people in there, because I did take clients in there the last time, and they loved the...
it is amazing.
There,
it is amazing.
And they made a few purchases. So it's
I'm always trying to be authentic in terms of the provenance of the products that people buy, because I've seen people rock up some place and say, "Oh, I bought this authentic kilt," and it was like, "No, it's made of terraline. There's nothing authentic about it." But you don't want to break their hearts, but at the same time, you're going to be authentic. Nobody can buy a kilt at £60 that's authentic.
Oh no.
I'm wearing my Mackenzie leather, so say hello to the Mackenzie boys we did one in Mackenzie leather. But we talked about the Festival of Edinburgh, which takes place in August. The main festival started just after the war to bring some lightness to the country. And the festival developed, and around the official festival, we have the Fringe. And this is the Fringe shop here. So if you're going to get tickets, I mean, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And this is the area where all the performances take place to try and attract you into their shows in the evening. Hello.
Let's have a little look in there. And for people that are not sure what the Fringe is, it was a small addition to the official festival originally, but it blossomed into such a huge, successful event that it is now bigger than the official Edinburgh Festival, and it's a lot of the time it's people trying out different productions, different plays, a lot of stand-up comedy, a lot of theatre, pop-up theatre in very small venues, but they put their heart into it.
Oh, they do. I mean, there's a lot of broken hearts, but a lot of people are very successful, and they'll try out a lot of shows here in Edinburgh, and the lucky ones get transferred and go viral, basically. You know, I have a cousin. His name is David Harrower, who actually did the play, and I'm going to name the play. It's called Blackbird, and the play was launched, the official festival, about maybe 6 years ago. And after it launched the official festival, it went on to London and New York as well. So check it out. It's called Blackbird. But I just wanted to draw this attention to.
I love
this,
these.
With the arts.
I used to be an art teacher, and one of the things we did was enter the competition for the Fringe poster.
Yeah.
And the school I taught at, they actually were successful one year, and it was designed, I think, by a fifth year pupil or student at the school. I don't know if that is still the case. If anybody knows about the Fringe who's watching, maybe they will be able to tell us. But as you can see, you've got lots of different products with that identity on it. Yeah.
And of course, you've got a Fringe gin.
Fringe gin, yeah. Wow.
Designed by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
There you go. My goodness me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was this? She did the Fleabag, didn't she? She wrote Fleabag. That great,
sure.
that big hit on TV. Called Fleabag.
Not sure.
Yep.
Yeah. But now I see that's limited edition prints, so it's a professional artist now they've got brought in to do these posters.
So let's walk a little bit up and we'll talk about the festival a wee bit more, because people just think the festival is one single festival. It's not. It's actually a collection of festivals that all take place at the same time. So there's a festival of poetry, there's a comedy festival, drama festival, book festival, the official festival. There's so many all in together, which when combined actually makes it the largest cultural festival in Europe. And I can't think of anywhere else outside of Europe that's actually bigger. But the Edinburgh Festival is absolutely rammed. This whole street is absolutely rammed. And of course, during the official festival, we also have the military tattoo up at the castle, which again attracts between 7,000 and 8,000 people every day during the whole of August, twice on a Saturday, and it's
Incredible.
Always sold out.
Incredible. I'd like to just point out this to the viewers. You see this shape on the pavement here. This was where the original Market Cross used to stand, and it was getting in the way of modern Edinburgh, so they did shift it. But there would have been a Market Cross from way back in about the 12th century or even before that of different forms.
Yeah.
And we have got bits and pieces which are from different periods on this new Market Cross, if you like to call it that, which most people gather at. Many tours also start from the Market Cross as well.
Yeah, you pick up your ghost tour if you're going on a walking tour in the evening, which are always good to go on. Not for the faint-hearted, though, I'm afraid.
We have what we call jumper ooters.
Jumper ooters. Well, literally, people jump out on you, you know. There's a wee bit of noise going on with the construction there. So we talked a wee bit before about David Hume. We're going to pick up David Hume later on, but the great men of the Enlightenment. One of the great men we talk about a lot is Adam Smith. And this is a statue to the great Adam Smith. A lot of people have heard of them, maybe some people haven't. But Adam Smith was known as the father of modern economics. Born in the 1700s, so he lived right up to the late 1700s, right in the middle of the Enlightenment. It said that he gave us the economic system under which we live at the moment. He was born over the water, over the river in Kirkcaldy in Fife. He went to Glasgow University at a very, very young age, and then he was awarded a scholarship to move on to Oxford, I believe, Balliol. In fact, he got a scholarship. The scholarship was set up by a fellow Scot called Snell, and Adam Smith won his way through there. Came back up to Edinburgh and gave public lectures here in Edinburgh and collaborated a lot with David Hume. David Hume, another great philosopher, and we will speak a wee bit more about him. Now, Smith then went on to be a professor at Glasgow University, so he studies as a student at Glasgow University and went back to be a professor there. And he came back to Edinburgh. He died in Edinburgh, and his tomb, and I take a lot of people who are interested in economics and political history and social philosophy to the tomb of Adam Smith, and a lot of people pay a pilgrimage to his tomb. Mm-hmm. He's again one of the great men. Now there's another great man who studied under Adam Smith, called James Boswell. James Boswell, famous essayist and biographer, famous for his travels around Scotland with Samuel Johnson.
Right, yeah.
And Boswell is stated as saying that Adam Smith's theories were great when they were all written down and they were great when they were in discussion, but the worst person to extol the virtues of Adam Smith's theories was Adam Smith himself. He said he was practically incoherent when he was trying to hold an argument together. And so it was reckoned that Adam Smith would sit quietly in the corner where other people discussed his philosophies.
Well, you know, Joe, I used to be really baffled by Adam Smith. I wouldn't talk about him very much because I was a bit scared about all the financial connections and stuff like that. But then reading about David Hume and finding out that he was a social philosopher and a political economist, so it's a bigger picture than actually just the finances. And people talk about the wealth of nations, but the full name of it is actually an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations. So it was a case of what's going on here, what are people's lives about, and what about the division between the classes and who earns more money and stuff like that. So this thing about laissez-faire in terms of let do, whereas before you had like the mercantile situation where it closed down economies who were colonies of Britain, and they were simply places for resources to be gathered by Britain. And then we would probably sell back the manufactured goods to these places and suppress them. So it was about open competition. But then again, it's not everybody that loves Adam Smith. I mean, many people throw coins on his tomb and things like that. But then there is one connection with, I mean, Margaret Thatcher was a great upholder of the writings of, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Joe.
I know, I would say what about Margaret Thatcher. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, I'm sure. I will keep stewing about that one. But he's kind of owned by the left and the right. So this is part of it, and again, that's part of his political philosophy, is that he believed in the division of labour in many regards, but he believed in the correct payment for the division of labour. And actually, so the right wing, ultra right wing, will go on about, well, he was a great, the left will go on about he's a proponent of slavery. I don't think he was actually. I think because he believed in a fair wage for a fair contribution. So left and right will toss this between them.
Both,
But the point is, he changed it forever. And he became such a polemicist in his time. And I mean, it took a great mind to change away from the system that we had, which was feudal and was basically slavery in our own country. And he revolutionised thought, and he revolutionised the way people think. And he gave people, the poorest people, an opportunity to use his own philosophy against the establishment. So I'm all for open discussion on these things, and I think Adam Smith was one of them. And I think that's the whole thing about the Enlightenment.
Enlightenment is it was an Enlightenment figure, and that's what distinguishes him in friend of Hume. But I'm just going to pan up the statue because the artist was one Sandy Stoddart, again, who is a sculptor who did many statues in Edinburgh, including David Hume. And what we've got here in the detail is a corn stalk that he's actually leaning on there. On top of the corn stalk there is a beehive. Now beehives or bees symbolise industry, and the corn stalk, and behind the corn stalk there is a scythe, and this is, some folks say, we don't know for sure, was about the decline in the agrarian economy. So I think the scythe also for many is a symbol of communism. So they may be picking up on what you were saying, Joe, about appealing to the left and the right wing.
I mean, people can, it's like, you can take the theory of Darwin, people break it open, still, you know, he gave us people say the survival of the fittest. As a biologist, I would never put Darwinism into social economics. People will take a theory and present what they want, take what they want from it. The point is it creates discussion, and that's my point, in that whether you support him or not, we still live under the social economic system that he talked about. And it's still changing, it's ever changing. And the people who are at the bottom were given an opportunity to use his philosophy for their own benefit, because there's division of labour, but fair wage for fair employment.
But this thing about experiment and like looking at the nature of things and how people get their heads around situations was very much an enlightened thing as well. And it was like, find out, get the facts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was experience, experiment, and a lot of this came from Newton, Isaac Newton of the 17th century.
Yep.
So he maybe kicked off people like David Hume and...
Well, they were all natural. It was all natural philosophy. They're all questioning the status quo, and they were questioning the status quo because of the Reformation. Because before the Reformation, what the church said was it. You couldn't disagree with the church. And when the Catholic Church, when the power of the Catholic Church sort of dissipated here in Scotland, certainly people started to question the whole role of the church and the role of the people. And again, it goes back to Adam Smith here. Adam Smith, again, a very, very good friend of David Hume. And he actually wrote that he admired David Hume. Now, we don't know about his own religiosity, where he stood in terms of religion with regards to Adam Smith. But he did write that he was very proud that David Hume went to his deathbed and did not go back to Christianity. He remained an atheist right to the end. And but we don't know about Adam here, about where he stood in that regard. He didn't marry. It's known that he didn't marry, and he lived with his mother. And he asked for a lot of his works to be destroyed, his own writings to be destroyed on his deathbed. But again, a great man. Again, if you were walking down these streets and going to these coffee houses and going to assembly rooms, you were walking with, on the shoulder to shoulder with giants in that period. It must have been amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And what was got surrounding us here, if these people hadn't been around, these Enlightenment figures, a lot of it wouldn't exist, or it wouldn't be as far advanced as we are today, or we think we are today.
And before the new town was built on the north of the city, people lived cheek by jowl. So again, you would have people like Adam Smith and the well-to-do maybe living in the second or third floor of these buildings, because you wanted to be above the street level, because the street level would have been stinking. But behind it, going down into the lower parts of it, you get the lower classes would be living, and they'd be living with the animals down there. So you had people lived cheek by jowl with each other. They knew of each other's living conditions. They walked the same streets. The streets would be full of horse manure and cow manure and animals, and paupers lived with, not so much princes, but paupers lived with the well-to-do.
Yeah. It was just a
It
melting pot.
it must have been amazing.
A melting pot.
Yeah.
You can see there a tour being led into the back area.
Where we were last week.
Yeah.
But Mike, you got a great silhouette of St Giles Cathedral there against the light. It's a gorgeous day today.
The light is beginning to fail, of course, because we moved the clocks and winter is upon us, and we've got this golden light though, which I think is
beautiful.
very
In fact,
beautiful.
you can see right down to the River Forth down at the bottom right at the bottom there. You can see right down to the River Forth, and actually across to Fife, where Kirkcaldy is, where Adam Smith was born.
Because he's supposed to say the sculptor would positioned him here because he was looking towards where he stayed, where his house was, and also
to his hometown,
where he's buried. And look at that light! It's just
gorgeous,
fabulous, isn't it? Over the Firth
and
of
you get
Forth
the Tron Kirk in there as well.
Yeah.
On the Firth of Forth. Let's move over to the other side here. We'll go over to these buildings
something
here.
else
There's going
to talk about here.
Wee bit of construction going on here, but we passed November the 11th, Armistice Day or Veterans Day in Canada and the US and Australia. And here we've got, right in the middle of the street here, we've got all the wreaths that have been laid for the people who died mainly in the First World War, but also the Second World War. And there's lots of wreaths here from the City of Edinburgh, the Scottish Parliament, Scottish Government, UK Government.
Yeah, yesterday I was playing down in the Boardwalk Beach Club Cafe, and just before 11 o'clock we had a little stop.
Yeah.
And then we listened to Big Ben, and after the 2-minute silence I played my pipes. So that is a very traditional thing to do, and at that very moment Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, was laying a wreath here, and I think you can see the Scottish Government, that one there, which we, Yeah, the council Wi-Fi is trying to take
Yeah.
over here, but you can see the different organisations. So you've got the UK government as well.
Scottish government. We've got the Lord Provost, which is equivalent of the Mayor of Edinburgh, and then the Scottish Parliament.
Which
we've got the
embraces
police.
all the parties, yeah.
Yeah. And we've got the various members of the different forces, the Air Force, Naval, and the political parties.
I think we've got a compliment about our quality of broadcast today.
Yeah.
Oh, mind just, I nearly fell over there.
Mike, you can't see behind the scenes here, but Mike nearly tripped over my crutch. Not my crotch, my crutch.
I'd probably brought, that would have been so bad, brought Joe down and me down, and that would have been...
Two down. But let's go inside. There's a wee bit of construction going on inside of it, but let's see if we can take a walk inside.
I'd like to just focus on this little one, because the great and the good and the distinguished people laying it, but there you have a feeling that that is just a little humble commemoration there of the poppy.
I could read that if you want. It's in remembrance of John Pender. So there's a little individual in there.
Yeah, well, we can go inside into the courtyard. Yeah.
So this is the old headquarters of the Edinburgh City Council. They still have a chamber here, a debating chamber, but they don't use it a lot in here, to be honest, because they've got the new building, but the chamber still works here. Again, you can actually hire out the chambers in here, and for one of the business, when I was working in the corporate world, I actually hired a room out here for one of our business meetings in here. A nice little cafe. It actually started off as an exchange, a mercantile exchange, but the merchants didn't like to use it, and they still continued doing their trading out by St Giles, and so the City Council took it over and used.
Yeah, it's quite a building. It was designed by one of the Adam family. We've all heard of Robert Adam.
The great family.
And this was
not
one of
not
the
to be confused with the Adams family.
I nearly said that. I nearly said the Adams family, because that's appearing at the theatre just now, I think, or coming up. If we go around the other side, maybe, Joe, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Watch yourself, and we'll see if we can get a better view of this.
The statue here.
Yeah.
The statue of Alexander and Bucephalus.
Yeah. And,
I think it's a great statue here.
And then, I mean, Alexander, that's going back to 3rd century BC.
Yep.
And it's a Grecian connection. I'm told he came from what was called Macedon. And that may have a connection, I don't know, with Macedonia today.
Macedonia, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was trying to tame this very wild horse called Bucephalus. And it's a statement of enlightened thought again. And the money, the patronage, came from the Duke of Buccleuch, who we covered in our last tour last week.
Yep, we did
and
indeed.
it was given to John Steele, who was a famous sculptor of the time.
Yep.
And the significant thing about this is that this took him his whole life almost, John Steele. He started it when he was quite a young sculptor starting off, and it was delayed and delayed through various processes, and also he wasn't getting paid
Yep.
at the end of it. And it is documented that he put pig's ears on the horse because he wasn't pleased with the delay of payment. And he was quite an old man by the time it was completed. And it wasn't originally here either, it was in St Andrew's Square. And then it got moved because it was getting in the way of something in St Andrew's Square.
Yeah, so we've got the we had Alexander was with his father, and Alexander was to pick a horse, and the horse master had suggested a horse for the young Alexander, who's about 12 years old. But Alexander saw this wild, untamed thing, and he started to talk to it and whisper to it, and he realised that the horse was actually terrified. And when he started to tame the horse, he realised that the horse was scared of its own shadow. So he actually moved the horse to face the sun, so the shadow was behind it. And of course, this statue has been positioned to make sure that the shadow of the horse will always be behind it. It's not in front of it. And also, he was terrified. The horse was terrified of the cloak, of Alexander's cloak, and so the cloak is symbolic as well. So he had to take the cloak off that he actually tamed Bucephalus, and Bucephalus was his horse for the rest, for as long as the horse lived, and took him into battle, and the horse was really loyal to him. And that, you know, you can make up your own metaphors here. Was this about, you know, is this Edinburgh City Council trying to tame the citizens, or the citizens trying to tame the Edinburgh City Council? You can make your own metaphor. But I do like the story. I don't know if you can actually pick out the ears up here.
Yeah, I'll try and get a bit closer and see what the audience thinks, if I can.
So the story about the pig's ear always intrigues me, because when we looked at the other statue of Charles II, he definitely had horses, big horses here. But this one here looks like it's got pig's ears. And I wonder if that's where we get the expression to make a pig's ear of something.
It could well be.
Because the expression, if you make a pig's ear of something, you make an absolute mess of it. And I can just imagine this being unveiled in front of all the great and the good of Edinburgh, and they're all waiting for the great unveil, and they pull it off, and then suddenly goes like, oh my God, look, it's got pig's ears.
I think it's pig's ears. Now, over here, they are doing a bit of restoration here as well. And,
they're always doing this building up.
Yeah. But it's quite a beautiful building.
It's a very impressive building.
It's very incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But well, we'll move on a bit. But there's also commemorations on the pavement, isn't there, Joe? Out there, there's like the Walk of Fame. Or
yeah, it's almost like the Chinese theatre in Los Angeles, where they've got the great and the good of Edinburgh. Put the handprint down here. Likes of J.K. Rowling's. We got Higgs boson, who won Professor Higgs, who won the Nobel Prize. Olympians are here. We've got the artist who just died recently. We've got Elizabeth Adder. You know Elizabeth Adder.
Elizabeth Blackadder.
Yeah, she was the
the Queen's limner, as it says, official painter to the monarch, and she held that position.
I've actually got an original drawing of Blackadder. Yeah.
She's known for watercolours, unusually still lives,
and cats.
Flowers. And
cats and flowers. I've got one of our cats and flowers.
Yeah.
And here we've got one of Richard DeMarco, instrumental in setting up the Fringe Festival here in Edinburgh.
He's in his 90s now, I believe, and
you still see him going around.
He's got an archive which he is trying to leave for posterity, and they've had various events to try and decide how they were going to have that kept together, but the indicators are that it's probably going to be split up.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to keep in the archive.
He's got a permanent, a few weeks ago we covered the old Dick Veterinary School, and he's got a permanent exhibition in Summer Hall again, so he was kind of instrumental in getting Summer Hall from the university as a vet school turned into an art centre as well, permanent art centre. So Richard DeMarco, famous guy here in the city of Edinburgh.
And I believe there's another memorial over there to the people who lost their lives through AIDS further over, and I think Annie Lennox is one of those whose handprints are over there. But,
and here we've got Ian Rankin, the author, J.K. Rowling's, Chris Hoy, the Olympian, and George Kerr. I think George Kerr was the... when I was doing karate in Edinburgh, he was an Olympic referee for karate.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and for the Commonwealth Games. So famous people here in Edinburgh.
And this, of course, has got a connection with Mary Queen of Scots.
Yeah, exactly. Because although we're looking at this building is relatively modern, but previous to that, there was a building here owned by the Preston family, and it was here that Mary Queen of Scots was actually held captive for a period, in the old building here. And so this building did replace others. Underneath this street we're walking on are other streets which have been closed over for many, many years. And it was only back in I think it was the 1980s, that the streets actually got opened up to the public. And one of the streets here is called Mary King's Close. And Mary King's Close is now an attraction, so you can actually pay your money and you can go on a tour, and they will take you on a tour, a guided tour, underneath the city. And it is something I highly recommend to do, because you're going into the streets, the ancient streets of old Edinburgh. Now there are quite a few of these old closes underneath the Royal Mile. Some are open to the public, some are not. but it is really worthwhile going to have a look at it. And they bring out the guides in here dress up like the characters who actually lived in the houses, and so they give you the stories of life underneath here. And I think the last people who dwelt in these went back to the 1920s, so people still lived in these dwellings underneath us in almost semi-darkness.
Yeah, if you go here, and I've taken a few, as I'm sure Joe has as well.
Yeah.
We don't guide in here because we've got the costume guides who are a character, as he was telling you. But the thing about it is one of the most authentic ghost story tours if you want to draw that connection, because some of them are really jump out at you and stuff like this, but this is quite a measured explanation of a very dark interiors and amazing what's still there and has been preserved over the ages. You've got an ancient shop and you can see the hooks where they used to hang the meat on, and then you've got where they used to hang their laundry out, and you would see the narrow closes.
And you've got the leather makers in there, and you've got the things about the when the medics during the plague, because a lot of the streets had to be checked when they were opened up for plague spores as well. So they're taking you down and giving you the authentic history, and I find it authentically creepy down there as well. When I do go down there, I do get the heebie-jeebies quite a lot, but it's worth it. And you've got the original streets going back to maybe the 1600s down there, it really is worth it.
Oh, it is. It's good. I can recommend that. Yeah. So we're going to walk up a little bit more before we leave you. And this light is fading, but Edinburgh is very busy, isn't it? It's got really busy, and we had a rugby match on here on Saturday, and it was Scotland against South Africa. Sadly, Scotland lost, but the place was absolutely heaving with people coming off the train, coming off planes. So things are certainly opening up again, and I believe now we can go to the States. Yeah, because the States.
Now, I want to point out this little restaurant here called the Luckenbooths. We mentioned someone asked about the Luckenbooths yesterday. The Luckenbooths were little lock-up shops that were all around St Giles. So remember, this was the trading area of Edinburgh, and all around St Giles Cathedral, a lot of the commerce was taking place. And the shops, they were locking. You could actually lock your little. It was almost like a wooden hut, to be honest. And then you could lock it. But they were called the Luckenbooths. And the Luckenbooth now is like it's a brooch.
Yes.
And you can. And these brooches. Some of you get them in antique shops as well. But they're passed on from family to down the lineage of families. These Luckenbooth brooches. So you can search for Scottish silverware. And if you want to give a gift to someone, you can actually gift someone a Luckenbooth. And they're quite
and they've got double hearts, or entwined hearts.
Entwined hearts,
Very Scottish, very beautiful. Yeah. And so this is a new dining area. I think this is pretty new, the Luckenbooths, in terms of a restaurant.
Lots of places, great places to eat up here. Yeah. I want to just draw attention again. We saw the old assembly close. On this side, you look at other closes down here, and you can see how far they go down. I mean, you're really going into the depths of the old town here as well.
Most of them you can go down, but some are gated, and you can only go down so far. And of course, there's people's private dwellings still.
But there's down here there are apart hotels, and there's a restaurant down here, and there's one here. So there's a lot of the restaurants. Again, when people get the taxi driver drop them off, they drop them here, and they can't find their restaurant. So there are really nice hidden restaurants, which is great for the people of Edinburgh during the festival. Oh yeah, because we can hide from the crowds. Yes. We can get a table in a restaurant where the tourism will never go into. So it's quite good for us.
It's a wee reflection of Joe and Mike here.
There we go. There we go.
The glass. Yeah. There we go. And this is a great place, Joe, isn't it? It's like angels with bagpipes.
Angels with bagpipes.
And being a piper, of course, I'm always going to be drawn to something like that. But it's quite a fine restaurant. Well, the last time we were in here, I think we had a gathering of our Blue Badge guides, if I remember that. Yeah.
I like the fish and chips, to be honest. I think they do really good fish and chips. Yeah. But the angels with bagpipes refer to the chapel, the Thistle Chapel, which is in St Giles Cathedral, which is where the Order of the Thistle meet. The Order of the Thistle is the highest form of I'm going to say gallantry, but that's not the word. The highest form of
chivalry.
Chivalry. That's the word,
Yeah,
not gallantry.
yeah,
Chivalry.
yeah.
Here in Scotland, they've got the Order of the Garter in England, but we've got the Order of the Thistle up here.
Yeah.
And the Queen is the head of the Order of the Thistle. And there's a little chapel where they meet. And in the carvings on the wall, the intricate carvings in the wall, it's a beautiful little chapel attached to the St. Giles. They have carvings of angels playing their bagpipes, and so that's why we get the angels with
And you got it
bagpipes.
there, and they got the angel's wings, of course. And you have a little look at the menu, just to give you a scan about what sort of things you can get in
And
there.
of course, traditionally, a lot of the restaurants are closed on Mondays. We have this thing here: you never eat fish on a Monday because the fleet doesn't go out on a Sunday. It's never fresh.
Good.
This is a great view down this. This is the Advocates Close.
It is.
And of course down there's a great pub and a great restaurant called the Devil's Advocate.
Nice view of the Scott Monument as well. Yeah. Aye, they can hear. Oh, thank you. Rafaela is saying we can hear the soprano voice.
You can hear that we're going to be going up to the opera singer. Sorry, girls.
Yeah, all right. It's a very favourite Instagrammable view, that one we just passed there with the arch and the Scott Monument behind.
Yeah.
And it's just full of really interesting places.
Yeah.
And I remember this antique shop as well in Giles, and it's still that. And this goes back a long time, decades, more than
1875.
that. 1875, yeah.
Yeah. And we've got a wonderful soprano singing live here.
You cannot play the bagpipes here though during certain times. I think we spoke about that the last time.
I'm surprised she's
because of
actually.
the courts.
I'm surprised she's allowed to sing actually, because the courts are still in session at this time. So I'm surprised.
Maybe they like music. Maybe it's going to
Maybe it appeals to
lull
the
them
judge.
into a nice verdict.
Yeah. So we're going to finish up here. We're going to actually go to the highest court in the land, called the Court of Justiciary. So we're coming up to the statue of David Hume. David Hume, again, one of the great philosophers, one of the great men of the Enlightenment. We talked a wee bit about him last week.
And it's about his treatise on human nature, an inquiry concerning human thought or whatever, why people came to various thoughts, and very deep philosophy in a way. Inquiry concerning human nature, I think it was called.
Yep.
And again, very much influenced by Isaac Newton, and believed the important things were things that you could look at facts, a fact of something, or you could experiment and experience.
I want to try and call these guys over.
Yeah.
Come here for a second, guys. Just want to speak to you. So where did you graduate from today?
University of Edinburgh.
And where did you graduate in?
English teaching.
English
Masters in
teaching.
English
Okay, so this is all you graduated in? So we get young graduates from Edinburgh University. Where are you from?
Hong Kong.
China. Japan?
China.
China, Japan,
Hong Kong.
and Hong Kong. So did you study here for 1 year or how many years? 1 year in teaching through Murray House. Yeah, through Murray House. Well done. Congratulations on your on your graduation today.
Thank you so much.
You're going to be party tonight?
Probably not, but actually just doing a photo shoot today.
Oh, you did a photo shoot.
Graduation is on the 3rd.
Well, you are live.
We've got an international audience
So
here.
we've got some Japanese viewers. You want to come say something in Japanese, then we'll get something in Chinese. Say hello to your viewers in Japan.
こんにちは。
Konnichiwa.
こんにちは。エディンバラ大学卒業しました。
Oh, maybe you won't hear because
I'll get it
let
here.
me say again.
1 second.
And we'll hear you because we've got a very special girl, a Japanese friend called Aya, who watches us.
こんにちは。エディンバラ大学卒業して今日、卒業写真撮ってるところです。さよなら。
Thank you. Want to say something to Chinese viewers as well?
你好，你好，欢迎来爱丁堡，我们很开心哦，要加油哦，今天毕业。
Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Well done.
Yeah, congrats.
We're also graduates of Edinburgh University
Yeah.
as well. So welcome to our world. Well done. Study hard.
We're quite in a hurry, actually.
Go ahead.
Oh, thanks for talking.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Before the sunset.
Yeah, you go
Nice
ahead.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Have a
Bye-bye.
nice day. Bye-bye. Bye.
Well, that was lovely. Getting
It
some
was,
graduates from
nice
Edinburgh University
Scotland.
there. Yeah.
These magical things that happen
Yeah.
on ordinary live tours. you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, once again, we've got this statue of David Hume just saying this is all about experience, facts,
Rationalism.
researching.
It was all about rationalism.
Rational
Yeah.
thought. It's nothing
Yeah.
to do with metaphysics. Not
No,
anything to do
nothing.
with that. Nothing to do with theology.
No.
Absolutely not. Nothing to do with the supernatural.
He eschewed the supernatural.
Yeah.
He did that. And this is ironic because if you look at his toe, maybe Mike can focus in on his toe here, you can see that the toe is being rubbed a lot. So the statue's been rubbed and rubbed. Now there's a couple of reasons that people do this, and I always try and tell people not to do it because I'll explain a little bit later. But because we're in the highest court of justiciary, what we have here is the people who are the advocates or the lawyers will rub the toe before they go in because they think it gives them good luck. Also, the people who are standing trial, so if you're a criminal, will come out here and before they go in court to get the judgment as well, they will rub the toe as well. And it all started off from the philosophy students at Edinburgh University. So the tradition was that if you're going to study for your exams at Edinburgh University, in philosophy, you would rush up here, rub the toe of David Hume, and then go and do your philosophy exams. However, this has continued because there was a group of tourists and it was written up in a tourist book in the Far East, and so you do get a lot of people here coming and rub the toe. I would not suggest you rub the toe of any statue anywhere, not especially in Edinburgh, in any city in the world, because I just think it spreads diseases. And also because David Hume was completely against things like supernatural luck and everything else. So
Yeah.
I don't think touching the toe of David Hume is going to bring you any luck whatsoever.
And of course, we connect philosophy with Grecian philosophy. But once again, he is dressed up in a Roman toga, and something he would never do, although he did like dressing up, but to connect him with classical Greece and Rome would be doing him a bit of a disservice, I think.
Yeah.
Because he was very much his own person. He suffered through being anti-religious because he wasn't employed by Edinburgh University, and he also has a tomb which has got no religious symbolism on it, which was designed by Robert Adam,
Yeah.
and it's on the Calton.
And again,
Calton Hill.
we do get people who come specifically to Edinburgh. They want to focus in on the Enlightenment, the great men of the Enlightenment, people who are in the know. People come from the States, from the great universities here, and they want to be taken to the tombs of David Hume and Adam Smith. They're all here, and we can happily arrange that for anybody that wants to come and see them as well.
Yeah, just around the back,
Yep.
which is a part that sometimes people miss because they are more engrossed in rubbing the toe.
Yes.
But I love this bit here, and again it's by Sandy Stoddart, who did the statue of Adam Smith, and here we in the centre we have got, if I can get myself in as well, you've got Helio. This is the face in the middle here, which is all about enlightenment, about the things that Hume and Adam Smith were talking about, and all around it is the serpents, and the serpents are anti-intellectualism, which would have been all the things against what these enlightened figures were talking about. So a nice bit of visual imagery here. Yeah.
And I think it's a great, if you just take a look, last look up the Royal Mile here, you get the great outline of the hub.
And the sun setting.
And the sun setting up there. So the sun is
Yeah.
setting quite, sun is setting very early now in Edinburgh.